Hello, listeners. Welcome back. We are excited to be doing our next episode as part of our build series for our basketball IQ. We are going to be talking about anticipation, which is a fantastic topic that is so important for all of us on the court and off the court. So we're excited to have you join us. I hope you'll enjoy what we're going to talk about. So to really start off today, I'm going to share some analogies that I want you to think about. So I want you to think about it yourself on Christmas Eve. You don't know Santa, or you haven't seen him yet, but you know he's coming. And you hear every noise, any little clank or creak that or crack, whatever your house sounds like, thinking it's Santa. Like, who is it? What are they doing? And you imagine every possibility. And so your brain is already playing that moment before it happens. Or I want you to think about your birthday. You already know the cake, the people, the moment before it happens. Most of you are so excited and can't even sleep the night before Christmas or your birthday. And that is what life brings. It brings some anticipation for these exciting events. And what we want you to remember is your body feels excited before the event. And the same applies in our basketball experiences and when we're playing. And we hope that you'll start to make that connection today because anticipation is your brain predicting the future before it arrives. So we're going to talk about some fun things today. And to start off, I just want you to remember that elite basketball players do the exact same thing. Except instead of presents, like on Christmas or your birthday, they're predicting what is coming next, but in a basketball sense.
When we talk about anticipation in basketball, some of you may already know what that is or what that looks like because maybe some of you have gotten a couple deflections, maybe some of you have gotten a couple steals, or you moved to the right spot to set a screen or to the right spot to set your feet for a shot. And so as you can see on your screen, so it could be like reading the defender, we're reading their eyes, we're reading their hips. We see the space on the floor to create that pass or shot or predicting passes, getting steals, getting deflections, and we're timing our moves so that way we can set ourselves up for success. And so that in and of itself is kind of like a definition of anticipation. But another way to think about anticipation is the ability to predict defensive movement. Recognize patterns. A lot of people play a lot of the same teams. If you watch their sophomore team, their JV team, and their varsity team, a lot of the things that the sophomore team runs is going to be what the older teams are going to run as well. So we can predict and recognize patterns that way. Another thing we can do is we can act before the play fully develops. Are we just running back on defense with our heads faced towards the basket, or do we have our head on a swivel so that way we can see the pass? Because a lot of teams, they like to pass the ball up the floor. But if we're just running back and we're not really having our head on a swivel, we don't know where the pass is going to go and we may be out of position. Are we anticipating that the ball's can come up the right side of the floor or the left side of the floor, and we can pay attention to that because most of the time it's probably going to be coming up the middle where it should be coming, but a lot of the times it's going to be to the right because that's where a lot of high school is dominant on the right hand side. But we can predict that and we can recognize that pattern, and then we can be like, ooh, we should act and force them left or force them wherever. Remember, great players don't react faster, they react earlier. And so the way I think about that is I have my head on a swivel. I'm forcing my person left because I saw sophomore team ran this. We know how we're going to be quicker and faster and be able to get that W for our team. And so as you can see on this screen, Whitney's going to dive into a little bit more of like what is anticipation and how we can have good input and output.
Anticipation is so important. And I want you to remember it as a fun thing. Just like we talked about with Christmas and your birthday, we'll keep going back to that today. You want it to be fun. If this becomes a burden or you take the spark out of it, it becomes more mundane and people just don't enjoy it. So anticipation is the ability to read the cues of the game. It's that bridge that connects raw talent, which all of us have raw talent in some way, shape, or form, and helps you become elite or the best at it. And, not all of us are going to play WNBA basketball. Some of you will. Some of us won't, and that's okay. But to the level of what we get to play, do we get to that point? That's what we really care about, to become elite in that way. So in basketball, anticipation isn't just guessing. This is actually informed prediction. So we'll talk kind of about the why of that in a minute. It's being able to recognize when a defender's hip turn a certain way, they're vulnerable to a crossover, or knowing that when a teammate drives baseline, the help defense must rotate, and so I'm going to shift into that position to be open to receive it in the opposite corner. Your anticipation is your output. So, how quickly you're able to respond to the ball moving or where it's going is really where your anticipation and basketball IQ is. So, it's awareness and seeing the pieces on the board. I don't know if any of you like to play chess. I remember learning and being like, oh, geez, when I first learned, it just was overwhelming. And I'm like, there's too many pieces. This is too complex and there's too many rules. And then after I played it for a while, I was able to start to see patterns and what really could happen. And then my brain was like two steps ahead of like, well, if they move here, I can't move there. If they move here, I can move here. The same applies in basketball. If you kind of break it down that way, you want to see the pieces, which are the players. And that is both defense and offensive individuals. So make sure you're paying attention to that. So when you combine these, the game starts to slow down. When you start to develop your anticipation, sometimes we get so anxious and caught up in the moment, we struggle to slow things down and stay calm and composed. Well, a lot of this is tied to your anticipation. So, why does anticipation separate you as a good or developing athlete from somebody that's elite and does really well? Well, your brain recognizes patterns before your eyes fully process them. That is how cool our brains are. They are pretty amazing. They can do a lot of things when you treat it and help it and nourish it the right way. That brain of yours is collecting data all the time. The more reps, the more films, the more awareness you do with the things that you're able to, the faster your predictions become. But if you're being lazy at practice and not putting all your effort in, not paying attention, not showing up focused, ready to give your all, this is really going to impact you. Your coaches can't fix that for you. This is something you have to do on your own. And so an elite athlete will operate on recognition, not reaction. We want you to become recognizers, to see things before they unfold, and to not have to be somebody that has to always react afterwards. So if you wait to see it, you're already late.
When the ball moves, you move. And I think if we want to be better anticipators, we got to be moving the whole time. And my question to you is, are you the person that's standing in the corner or standing at the wing, standing at the block, just kind of waiting for something to happen? And then, like, going very back to basics, like when you're learning how to make a pass, do you make your step? And then when you're catching the ball, do you wait for the ball to come to you or do you step towards the pass? And so a lot of us, as we've grown and played, we learned that we have to anticipate the ball coming to us and we have to put ourselves in motion to go towards the ball to get that pass. Catch it with two hands. And it's just a lot of motion. When I think anticipation, I think motion, I think movement, I think quick feet, I think of just quick players running up and down the floor all the time. But it's because of our brain. Our brain is amazing. Like what said, it like recognizes those patterns. And as we watch film and do all that stuff, like we'll be able to understand when to jump, when to reach, when to still, when to shoot, when to drive. And that takes a lot of time and practice. But a really cool thing that helps our brains understand how to process faster is called the reaction loop. And the reaction loop is going to be a game changer for you. And so we're going to break it down a little bit and hopefully you can understand it. We're going to try and keep it really simple. And so most players, they look at the ball, they react late, and it's a forced decision. So that means it's either something happens or I think about it as like if you're not in help and like you're on the baseline and you're supposed to be in help, but you're still holding hands with the person you're defending and the ball gets passed and then it's that late and then you go over and foul them because you're not in help. So it's that late help. And they get a foul and then they shoot and then they get an and one. So that's a forced decision because we didn't react fast because we were probably holding hands, looking at the ball. Whereas an elite athlete, they can read the cues, they predict reaction, and they attack space. So last week we talked about awareness. They're aware of where the ball's at. They are aware of where the defense or the offense is at, where they need to be on defense. And that way it's not that second and one crappy foul because most time it's that SWAT coming in on the foul anyway. But they can react and they can predict, oh, if I don't move, if I don't transition, that's going to be a wide open pass on the baseline. And it all comes down, like, when I think about the reaction loop, I think about these three things. It's like reading their eyes. Like, you may be the post, but you can be reading the guard's eyes. You can be reading their hips. You can be reading their shoulders because a lot of people, they they telegraph their passes of where they're going to go. You can study the tendencies. This is gonna come from, like, game film and also watching the games before your game. I feel like this is the most important one about the reaction loop is understanding the physics. So, if you Newton's law is a thing in motion stays in motion. I think it's his first law. So meaning a player going full speed towards the basket is not gonna stop on a dime and can jump, stop, and go backwards and be like, never mind, right? Their momentum is going all against them. If they're going forward, they're going forward. If they're going backward, they're going backward. And sometimes you, the person who's trying to stop them, you got to be aware of where they're going so you can meet them and not cause a foul. Can you stop them in a good manner without a fouling manner to create a turnover, to create them to change their motion or their direction? And if we can um, understand how we can change the direction of their motion by reading their eyes and studying which way they like to go and anticipating, keyword, anticipating, we can become, I would say elite, but a word that comes to my mind is deadly. And I think that's the fun part is like when you have teams that are anticipating and jumping and doing all this stuff, like it's fun basketball to watch and it's fun playing it too. But as you're doing it, your team sees it and they start anticipating as well. So it just takes one person to start jumping or like, hey, did you see that? Hey, did you see that she only goes left? Or whatever it may be. It's a team effort. So once you recognize it, use your mouth, communicate, and say, hey, look at this. We can do this. We can jump this pass and all the good things.
Yeah, I love these 3 things. It's true, like, I don't remember being taught this as a young basketball player, but I feel like as I studied and I watched and talked to people that had more experience than I did, these were the things that actually they were teaching me. I just didn't know it was called the reaction loop. So, this is really cool how simple it can be, read eyes and then study tendencies and understand physics, and as Shalyse and I have been talking and as she was just talking, I was thinking about why is it so hard for so many of us to do this on a basketball court? Well, a lot of it is because we don't do it off the court. If you think about your life and studying things around you, how many of you have one of these? I know most of you do. And your eyes are on a screen. And when you're at school, your eyes are on a screen. And I'm not saying these technology tools are bad, they're actually super helpful, and I'm grateful for them. However, I have to find a balance. If that's all I'm doing all the time and I'm not reading people's eyes, looking them in the face. For example, when's the last time you looked your parents in the face? Or in the eyes? When's the last time you looked your siblings in your eyes and had a face to face interaction? If that is maybe once a week or not even that, we're missing the mark. So, how are you going to be able to do that on a basketball court if you're not even doing it at home in your habits around those you should be doing this with every day? And studying their tendencies, what ticks your parents off or makes them mad? What do they really like and what means a lot to them? To your friends, whether that's a best friend or just a group of friends, what do they like? What do they dislike? How do you pick them up? How do you support them and encouraging them? You can study tendencies with people and start to learn about them. And if you don't know how to do that in day to day life, it's going to be really hard to do that and study other players and things in film. And same with like laws of physics, there's so many different laws around us, like the law of attraction, the law of motivation, the law of anticipation. These are laws we're not even going to get into today, but these are simple things that if you can't apply them in life, a coach and you spending 2 hours on a basketball court every day during season is not gonna change that. So you've gotta start to realize what Shalyse and I really want is when you can connect both of these, how these steps apply to you on and off the court, and how much better of a human being and a teammate you'll be because you're already applying this in your life. So if you really is we talk about this today, if you realize, you know what? I don't do this off the court. You might want to take a pause and really evaluate how you could start to do it off the court. So then when you're starting to do these things on the court, it just becomes second nature to you. I will tell you from personal experience, I really like to learn from people. And I have done so much personal work on myself and on other people to study their tendencies. People are complex, but they're also amazing. And I love when I get to learn about people, what they like and what they don't like, and what means a lot to them. For example, this is kind of off topic, but what comes to mind is like the love languages. If you don't know what the 5 love languages are, again, I won't get into all that right now, but these are tendencies that people have that mean more to them. Like For me, giving me gifts is very nice, but that is not my primary love language. For somebody else, I know that is. For a teammate or a friend, it might be words of encouragement or positive affirmations. And so I want you to start to see these things and to learn how you can become better because it makes life more enjoyable and it makes your time on the court much more fun.
And while Whit was talking about it, I think the most important thing that, at least for me and probably for Whit, that we want you to get out of this is no matter what podcast you listen to, is the way you treat people matters. And it doesn't matter what we say or what we do, it's gonna come down to how you treat people. And if we can understand how to treat people better and give them the benefit of the doubt and stop judging when you first meet people, like really listen to listen, don't listen to respond. But once we can fully have a calm sense of peace within ourselves, we'll be able to make some really great connections with people. We'll be able to connect. We'll be that friend, to be that teammate that people want to be around. And by applying the reaction loop of reading their eyes, because people will tell you how they're feeling based off their body language. You can just look them in their eyes, and some people how they feel. And then you'll be able to also study tendencies, teammates when they're mad, you can tell that they're mad, and you're you got to calm down, I'm not going to talk to you. And probably your siblings and your parents are whoa, I'm going to back up a little bit and give you some space. It also comes back to our positive self-talk, how we're treating ourselves. People are going to be reading our eyes. People are going to be studying our tendencies and our emotions. And so if we can show people grace and treat people the way that they need to be treated, they're going to treat us the way that we need to be treated. So there are going to be so many opportunities for us to anticipate and to change and to react and to help us become more aware, have opportunities for us to communicate and become better people on and off the court. But we have to have some examples in our lives. And at least for me in a basketball realm, we're just gonna jump back to basketball because basketball's great. It's season. But one of the ways that I think of anticipation, and a lot of you can probably see, is through examples. And so we have a few examples, and we'll be sharing videos in our posts on Instagram and on social. So please stay tuned for those because they're gonna be really cool. But we want to talk about a few people who play in the WNBA, who played in college.
So we'll kind of alternate so you get from both of us. But when you think about these women, I want you to think about they don't just play hard. Obviously, they have played a lot of basketball in their life, they have so much experience, but they play ahead. They're already thinking about the next step, the next play, the next quarter in the back of their mind. It's a fine balance of being present, but also anticipating what's next. So the first one we're going to talk about is Sue Bird. She's amazing. If you've never watched her play, you should go watch her play or videos of her playing. She was and is phenomenal at passes to space before teammates arrive. She knew how to time that ball to get the ball to their teammates in the perfect timing. And had she been behind, would have been a steal by the defense. Had she been too ahead, turnover. So it is a fine line of that timing. She is known for the passes and passes to space to her teammates at the perfect timing.
Another example is Asia Wilson. So she's big and tall, and she gets double teamed a lot. And my guess is she was probably double teamed her whole entire life and is still being double teamed. But because of that experience in being double teamed, she's able to read it before they actually commit. So meaning the second person's coming over, she can read that they're coming over to do a trap, to do a double team, and she can sneak through and do her little shimmy move and get up and score. Or she can do a quick pass. But it's being able to understand, I'm a tall person. I'm probably going to get double teamed, and I probably know my teammate is wide open in the baseline quarter. So she anticipates it, and she's like, wham, bam. Thank you, ma'am.
I love it. Chelsea Gray. I love watching her play because, man, you think she's going one place and she goes completely opposite. These are the types of players that I personally love to watch because they see it, but the defense can't read what they're thinking. Chelsea is so good at she sees the teammates in the floor, but yet she's going this way, and bam, she's got the pass in for a layup or that weak side post that's open. She knows exactly where to get the ball or to help her team be successful because she's not telegraphing. She's not just going through the motions of I go from here to here. She's already seen it out in her mind and she's able to anticipate that and get the ball to the open space.
And another favorite is Caitlin Clark, CC. Her passes are amazing, her shots are amazing, but she anticipates help defenders before driving the ball. So everybody says be in help. She can see if they're in help or if they're not, and she can time it perfectly so she can get an and one every time because they're going to always be late. But another way I think about her as well is like her threes. A lot of the times they have the tallest person guarding her so they can try and block her shot. But she knows, hey, I'm going to set a screen, they're going to come up and over my screen, but I can time it and anticipate their footwork. And so, as an offensive player as well, we need to make sure that we're reading their eyes just as much as we're playing defense when we're reading the offensive person's eyes. Like, it goes on both sides of the court. And I think Caitlin Clark is a great example of reading eyes when you're on offense.
Yeah. And then Aaliyah Boston, she steals defenders early based on positioning. I actually was talking to a post player the other day of so many girls wait until they like have to post up instead of being a threat from the beginning. It's like, oh yeah, now it's part of the play, I'll post up. No, if a defender, if let's say you're a post player, you play inside. If you notice that the defender's playing really low, be a threat at that high post or at the free throw line to want the ball and to have a little jump shot. Or if you notice they're playing way below or on certain sides, post up that way. Want the ball early, be a threat. And that's what Aaliyah does. She is so good at sealing defenders early and getting that positioning so she's a threat at all times.
Absolutely. And these are just a few examples. And these ones are some of our favorite players. And you may have a bunch of different players. There's so many out there. But like as you go and watch their games and watch their game film, like maybe pick out your favorite player and see how they anticipate. See how they read the eyes of their defenders. Or in their offense, see how they uh, well, obviously, when you're on offense, you're reading the eyes of the defenders, but when they're on defense, see how they're reading the offensive player's eyes. Are they in help? Are they in the right position? We can learn from their example and then we can try and implement it into our game. But it's also about repetition, repetition, repetition. And then also watch your game film, like what are you doing? And then go to practice and implement it that. Go and talk to your coach. Hey, coach, I'm having a hard time about this. How can I better anticipate this movement? I think with anticipation, the more we ask questions, the better it is because our brains are always twirling and always thinking. And so the more questions we ask, then our brain can recognize that pattern to be able to jump and to be able to move. And I think like the best thing to remember is with these WNBA examples and college athletes, like they aren't faster. They're just earlier, meaning they see it quicker. Like maybe yes, it'd be like maybe you're like, but they play faster. Yes, their pace of play is faster, but it's the exact same as your play. They're doing the exact same things that you're doing, but just a little bit quicker, a little bit earlier.
It makes me think about my dad. This sounds funny. My dad's a lefty and he played basketball in high school. So obviously being his daughter, we had a lot of fun playing basketball growing up. I remember we'd go out in our backyard and my dad and my brothers and I would be playing. And as we were talking about it, I'll never forget. I was just like so bugged with him one day. You know how you get that way with your parents, but I am so grateful for this memory because I remember being like, "Oh, dad, I'm going to beat you. I'm faster than you." My brother was actually taller than him at this point, and we all are cocky in our young adolescent ages. And my dad made a statement. He was like, "You may be faster, but I'm wiser." And I used to like roll my eyes at him and be like, "Oh, brother, whatever. You don't know what you're thinking about." Now I'm older and I still have the opportunity to play basketball, and I'm grateful for that. But I've realized I am not as fast as I used to be. I can't train. I don't have the time to put in like I used to. But it's true. You become wiser in the game. And that's really what anticipation is. It's becoming wiser in this sport because you could be the fastest girl on the court. You really could. But that doesn't mean you're going to be the best player necessarily because it's actually having control and anticipating. And I love that what Shalyse just said. It's not about being faster, it's about being earlier and ready and smarter. So that's where that wiser, smarter comes in. And it's true. That is, some of these players are not the fastest, the biggest, the strongest. Some of them are. but a lot of them aren't. And it's using these strengths of anticipating and really their mind and their brain to make them be successful. So, as you think about who your role models are, how you can learn from them to become wiser and better. My personal one, WNBA was not huge growing up. It was growing, but it wasn't as big as it is today. I actually watched a lot of men's basketball, and I loved watching John Stockton. If I tell you my favorite players, yes, I was a Utah Jazz fan, and I loved watching John Stockton and Jeff Hornacek. If those were like the two players I could pick, so I watched. But I also realized that was the type of player I wanted to be like and to be consistent, or perform like. So maybe look at some of your strengths. What are your strengths? How do you develop your strengths to become better? And then the weaknesses or areas you need to develop and get better with, grow. Find players that are good at that and watch them so you can learn from them what's best. And as you do that, then you'll train your anticipation. So, what could you do daily? Right now on the court, you could slow the game mentally, just like we've talked about with that reaction loop. Put those steps into implementation. Focus on spacing. We always talk about don't watch the ball, see the court. Ball moves, you move. Yes, you've got to be aware of the ball and know where it's at, but you have to see more than just the ball. It's where your team's at, how you're spacing, where the other team are playing and their spacing. And going back to my chess analogy, play chess, not checkers. Checkers is more simple, right? Boom, 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 I can jump you. Checkers has a lot more complexity to it. Basketball is a more complex sport than some others out there. I'm not saying it's better. It's my favorite, but I know all of us favorites. It's a chess game. It's not checkers where I can think I can go A, B, C, D. No, I have to be able to go this move, then next game around this move. It's complex and you've got to be able to see it. And then off the court, watch film without sound. It's funny how people don't like quiet. They always like to have noise, but actually, your brain thrives sometimes on just stillness. Let it watch and see things and not hear necessarily everything that's going on so you can start to be more aware. Pause plays and predict the outcomes. I've even done this with other teams and been like, they have a really cool setup like this. What could they run off of this? How could they be effective? And then visualize decisions before bed. What am I going to do tomorrow to be better in the game? How am I going to react or handle bad calls from the ref? How am I going to handle a bad pass from my teammate? How am I going to handle when my shot isn't going in and I'm frustrated? How am I going to handle that pressure when I get double teamed because they know I'm quick and I'm a shooter? That's the type of preparation we want you to be aware of. So remember, your anticipation muscles grow when your body rests. This is that separation of the mind and the body and how that all works.
Yes, and this kind of ties into our weekly challenge. And I think about like visualizing your decisions before bed. Like visualization is huge. And if you can really like start to apply that to your life and really do it, like your brain will see it and you're on the court. It's like, oh, I already know what this is. Like I got it. But think about in your visualization, this is going to be your daily challenge. So, as you're visualizing or thinking about things, ask yourself this question: if I make this move, where will the defense react? You can also reverse that. If I make this move, where will the offense react? And so, each day, it can be during practice, during your game, during your visualization. Ask yourself those questions and then predict what the defenders or the offenders' next move is going to be. Track 3, correct predictions per day. So that could be from coming to watch game film. Like, did you make the right move? So some examples could be like your defender lunges. They like lunge to like try and intercept a pass. Do you drive? Do you have that lane? Or do you pass to the open space? Whatever that may be. Are you in help? Like, do we help quicker or help steps earlier and you get a quick finish? Or if you're on defense, you help and you're in position and they don't score, they have to pass it back out. Or can you read it and you're on offense, help is late, and then you get an and one. You go up, whatever it may be. Another one could be like a defender overplays and you get that backdoor cut. And it could be like, and I feel like you think about this, but like, when it's open, do you go? Or do you wait until your coach is like, cut? Right? So it's like acting before being told, doing it without even thinking. It's that second nature that's within us. As you do this and as you start to write things down and be like, if I do this, then this will happen. If I don't do this, like, because every positive has a negative, I think about it that way, like, if I do this, then I get this, but if I don't do this, then I get this. And I think if we can start, like, connecting the 2 hand in hand, all of us will start going towards the positive because we like happy, good things. But we have to be able to realize our mistakes of, "Oh, I lunged and I went flying," or, "Oh, I did not help and they got a wide open layup." Whatever, just, like, being aware of what it is, owning it, and then going and changing it and fixing it and becoming your elite self on and off the court. Please share what you have learned, because as we share, we care. And because we care, we want to share, and sharing helps us and our brains be happy, and it helps us learn quicker and faster. We know that you're working hard and you're becoming your elite self and you're doing all the things that you need to. We hope that you have a great week. We hope that you do take this challenge to heart because we know it will help you not only in your basketball life, but also in your life off the court. And that's all we have for you today. But enjoy your week. And until next time, don't forget to subscribe and like all the things. And I'll catch you guys next week.
Bye, guys.